Roderick Macrae, I mean, he's a 17-year-old boy, you know, and often when you read the sort of historical accounts about Highland, people in the Highlands, the crofting people, they're only portrayed as victims, or they're kind of almost idealised as sort of noble in their suffering. But I wanted Roddy to be a real, as you say, flesh and blood character. He's a teenager, so I wanted him to be like a teenager today. He's kind of has this struggle against his oppressive father. He chases the girls in the village, you know, like any teenage boys want to do. And, you know, he has aspirations to, you know, see a little bit more of the world than his tiny village. But he's an intelligent young man. But he is eccentric, and, you know, we're not sure if he's insane or he shows some signs of insanity. But I think he's compassionate, and certainly in the account that he gives us. And of course, we know that that account is not completely reliable. But, you know, he feels that he's driven to the acts that he commits. But I want the reader to be rooting for Roddy, to be supporting him, and to feel this kind of empathy with him, which is, you know, disrupted halfway through the book when we learn a little bit more about what he's actually done. So I think that relationship between the reader and the character, I wanted to be a complex, ambiguous relationship, not a simple black and white relationship. Well, I did a lot of research for the book, and although it's an area of the country, an area of Scotland I know very well, I didn't know that much about the history of the place, and I was shocked because the living conditions for people, the crofters, they're kind of peasant farmers. You know, it was absolutely terrible. Even late into the 19th century, people lived in houses with thatched roofs where the fire, which was lit all day, every day, the smoke just seeped out through the hatch. They shared their houses with animals, so chickens and cattle lived also in the house in the winter. So really, and you know, they lived in conditions of great poverty, and the social structure. They had no rights on their land, so they could be thrown off the land at any time by the landlords or lairds, as they were called. It's an incredibly beautiful part of Scotland. It's an incredibly beautiful part of Europe. But, you know, the people who lived there, they couldn't take the fish from the rivers. They couldn't take the shellfish from the shores because this stuff belonged to the landowners, and they had to get permission to take it. And it's very sort of, you know, I'm a huge fan of Franz Kafka and the situation of these people where they were living under regulations that they didn't understand. The power, the way that power was used, you know, was also in a way, if you look at the castle in my book, you know, we have the big house where the landowner lives. And to me, it's like the castle. It's a sort of place of power, but you can't reach it. You can see it, but you don't have access to it. I mean, in terms of how the Highlands is now, you know, the landscapes are relatively unchanged, of course, and, you know, the main industries up there are tourism, you know, probably like many parts of Greece. But it's, you know, the social situation has completely changed now. Although there are still disputes between the landowners. I mean, the situation of land ownership in Scotland is still, I think it's the most unequal distribution in Europe. You know, the whole of Scotland is owned by about 400 people. And, you know, if you're a rich businessman from Greece, you can buy a large part of Scotland, you know, without many questions being asked. It's a really difficult question to answer because, like most of the writers I know, I hate writing. You know, every day is a struggle. I mean, I'm here in my flat. I have a nice study, but I can't work here, you know, because I'm easily distracted. I procrastinate endlessly. So I use a public library to write because I feel like then I'm going to work, and I try to write 1,000 or 1,200 words a day, when I'm writing a first draft, and then I can come home, I feel happy. If I haven't written my words, I feel this tremendous sense of sort of self-loathing. It gives me a sense of self-worth, value, I suppose. And also, when you finish a book and people read it, and especially with his bloody project, this book is, unbelievably, this book has gone around the world. It's a book about a village in Scotland in the 19th century. And here it's going to Greece and China and Russia and Japan. And that's an incredible thing. And I'm sure you can imagine how incredibly rewarding that is.
Αυτό ήταν ένα ακόμα GarageBOOKS. Μέχρι το επόμενο, τα λέμε.